Hey guys, we have a classic question today. It's called valid parentheses. That's an easy question and it's very popular. So let's get to it. Okay, so given a string containing just the characters open parentheses, close parentheses, curly braces, and brackets, determine if the input string is valid. An input string is valid if open brackets must be closed by the same type of brackets, and open brackets must be closed in the correct order. Note that an empty string is also considered valid. Okay, so this doesn't really make much sense to me, so let's look at the examples. So we have an open and then a close, and so this cancels each other out, and therefore it's valid. Here, they all cancel each other out, and so it's valid. At this point, these don't cancel each other out, and so it's not valid. These don't cancel each other out because it's not valid. And these don't cancel each other out because this closed bracket isn't ever going to meet the open bracket. And here we see that they're valid. So let's look a bit closer at how we want to do this. A good data structure to consider for this problem is a stack, because you want to keep track of items that are most recently put on top and see if they cancel out with the next item. So basically, like if you start off for the example, the first example, you have an open parentheses. That's the top of your stack. So you want to say, okay, is the next value going to be able to close this kind of pair? If so, take them off the stack and can keep considering. I think that's how we're going to go about solving. Just to visualize what we're working on here, we're going to imagine this stack happens horizontally. So this is the top. Let's walk through example 4. So our input string is this, right? So at first, our stack's going to look like this, right? And the next value we're going to get is an open bracket. And the next value we get is a closed parentheses. At this point, we know this will never work, right? This pair will never be resolved, and we'll never have completed or closed all of the brackets or open parentheses. So therefore, it's going to be false. So a neat way to do this is using a stack. So we have a stack here. We want to keep track of which types of characters are the open ones and which ones are the closed ones. So we can do that with a hash. We can say, okay, the open curly brace is corresponding to the closed curly brace. The open parentheses corresponds with the closed parentheses, and the open bracket corresponds with the closed bracket. Okay. Now we want to say, okay, for each of the items in my string, which could be none, for index and value in enumerate string, do something. Ideally, we're building up the stack and then popping things off the stack when they match. And so eventually, when this is done, we want to say, okay, is my stack empty? Because if it is empty, we have popped off as much as we can from the stack, and now it no longer exists. And so therefore, it's valid. So length of stack equals 0. Boom. Here we want to consider two things. First, if the stack is empty and we have a closed value, it's not going to work out. So if length of stack equals 0, right, it's not a valid string. Otherwise, if the top value on the stack is a match to this closing value that we have currently in value, then we're good. So that means if it's not a match, we're not good. So if open to close of stack.pop does not equal our value, then we want to return false. And this should work. Whenever we see an open value, we put it on the stack. Whenever we see closed value, we see, is the top thing on the stack a match? If so, we're good and pop it. If not, it's not a valid string. At the end of it, we want to check, is my stack empty? Because you could imagine a string that is just open parentheses the whole way through. In this case, it'll just keep appending to the stack, and we'll have a stack full of these open parentheses, but it's still not valid because they're not going to ever close. And so that's why we check for the stack length being equal to 0. And yeah, let's run this and see what happens. That works. What about for the empty string? What about for a single close bracket? All right, let's submit it. Cool. This works. Thank you for joining. That is valid parentheses. It's a very common question. You should know it.